knowing what you know now about nervous system regulation, is there something that you wish you had known then, or that you could have told you, Cara, of the past?
You got to accept that this is where you're at right now. Release some of the control because your circumstances aren't going to change immediately. And then when you start feeling that anxious rise in your chest and you're starting to get dysregulated, go walk into the break room and do a few body weight squats. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Just get your body moving and that'll kind of break that out of you. And it breaks that cycle.
Welcome to the Mindfulness in Motion podcast, the show that helps you move beyond the checklist of life and into a world of joy and meaning and discovery.
I'm your host, Corey Micah, and I am excited and delighted to have our listeners here today. And I'm also excited to welcome Cara to our episode today. She's a grief and wellness coach, a nurse, and educator. And she works with people how mindful movement can help us navigate grief, regulation of our nervous system, building resilience during life's challenging moments. Grief is definitely a challenging moment, or moments. It's not just one, is it? So whether you're going through something difficult, a difficult season, supporting somebody you love who is, or simply looking for ways to bring more calm into your daily life, this is the conversation for you. Let's dive in. Thanks for being here today, Cara.
I'm so excited to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just have to start by saying it's very interesting to me when I was reading some of the stuff on your background bio with your nursing background. You know, I work with people who want to feel calm confidence in their life, particularly in the water, right? That's where I've started. I teach adults how to swim. But I also work with people in overcoming fear in medical situations, because this is where I've done my healing, because nothing triggers me more than going into a medical facility of any kind. And when I've gone through that journey, one of the biggest reasons I start to understand why it was so triggering for me is because the practitioners are so not calm themselves. They are so under so much pressure, and they are so they're there telling you, take care of yourself, reduce your stress. And I'm like, you are freaking out. Can you please? Oh, it was like a mirror and was not helping me. It just feels like oftentimes medical places feel like some of the most unhealthy places in terms of for the people who are working there. And that sounds like it's some of your work is helping people in that kind of environment from the employees' side. So tell us about what you do with folks and your experience of that kind of nervous system dysregulation for people who are in that field or in that space.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's really rough on the nervous system to work in healthcare. And my particular genre, if you will, was ICU nursing. And so I would clock in for a 12-hour shift, and you never know what you're going to get. You never know if the patient is going to be stable or if they're going to just that minute do something where you really have to act. And so you're always on high alert. And then not to mention the fact that you're constantly, I would say, dealing with unknowns and constantly reassuring people. And there's so much that goes into it. And yeah, I always thought it was kind of ironic that we're like, hey, take care of yourself. And we're not taking care of ourselves. And it's just so easy to get lost in all of that. So I started my career as a mental health student nurse tech. And then I went into cardiothoracic nursing on the floor. So after patients got out of the ICU. And then I went into the cardiothoracic ICU. So cardiothoracic is anything pertaining to your chest cavity, specifically like heart and lungs and all of those surgeries. I also took care of heart and lung transplant patients. And it was very intense. And I loved it. When I first got into it, I was like, this is amazing. Like, we are saving lives. And, you know, sometimes that adrenaline that you get, and like, it's so rewarding too. I loved it. But what I slowly noticed over time, I think I was there for 6-7 years. And towards the end, I started having like physical symptoms that I couldn't explain, I would go to my doctor and he would be like, everything's normal. I'm not sure why you're having this. I'm like, really? Because I'm dizzy every time I stand up. It was just a myriad of things. And slowly over time, I realized, after test after test after test was coming up normal, that my nervous system was very, very dysregulated. And it was no longer a compatible relationship, me in the ICU. And so I looked for something else. Essentially, that's what got me out of that role. And so that kind of was where my story began and where I really started to learn about nervous system regulation. I got into functional medicine, and that was a large part of what we worked on. And so, yeah, that's where everything started. And then the other, portion, the grief and losing my mom, all of that came next. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So knowing what you know now about nervous system regulation, and I know this is really hard to go back, you're never going to change or undo anything in our lives, but knowing what you know now, is there something that you wish you had known then, or that you could have told you, Cara, of the past? Like, let's try and incorporate this in, or let's do some pieces there so it didn't have to be necessarily all or nothing. Because part of this is sometimes we just need to make a change.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really hard to make that big of a change. And so the question is, how can I make a change within a particular circumstance? We can't leave, probably like, in grief, you can't change that circumstance. That's one that just is there. If you're grieving, there's no change for that in the person who you've lost. So what would you tell your past self, or could see for your past self now that you have some space from that situation?
That's a great question. And actually, it's good for me to go back to that space, because as you were asking me that, I remembered another reason why I was so dysregulated. Towards the end of my career in the ICU, I had my first child. And it was also very hard for me to leave him at home and go. This was at the height of the pandemic. He was born in December, right before everything shut down. And so then I'm going in and going, I don't know what's going on here at work. Everything was changing every single day. And that alone was really nerve-wracking. Nervous mom leaving her newborn at home too. So like my poor nervous system, it was on fire. But one thing that I would tell myself is that, hey, you got to accept that this is where you're at right now. Release some of the control, because your circumstances aren't going to change immediately. And then I would also share what my therapist told me to do, because it was actually kind of brilliant. She told me, when you start feeling that anxious rise in your chest and you're starting to get dysregulated, she was like, go walk into the break room and do a few body weight squats. She was like, or jump up and down or do something, just get your body moving, and that'll kind of break that out of you, and it breaks that cycle. And she was like, and then go back and deal with what you're dealing with. And so that really is a game changer, I think, because it doesn't have to be a big to do. I think people, when they hear nervous system regulation, they picture people like meditating for hours, and they're like, oh, wow, that's really unattainable. I'm too busy for that. Like, yes, all of us are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I call this mindfulness in motion. We have to be in the motion of our lives. We do need to take time, and, meditating on a mat is good, but we also need to have something that I can use right in the moment. So I love that. Yeah. Getting connected to the physical right now. That was something you can control and does change that nervous system. Yes. When you do a body weight squat. I don't think I can use that one. My knees don't do that anymore, but I have other.
Other forms, but it's, it's quick. You have access to it, and you can do it in a pinch, and it goes with the flow of your life, like we're talking about. So
absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Nice. Well, and those are big things when you new mom, COVID, there's so much stuff we didn't know that we were figuring out and trying things and not knowing where they were going to go and making our best efforts to get through it and to go to another place. That is really hard on a nervous system, because it really wants stability, right? It really wants things to be the same. So tell us about how you started to learn about nervous system regulation and discover that.
I think that came in through my functional medicine doctor. He's fabulous. I turned to him after my doctor had no answers for me. And that's a whole other story. We could be here for 24 hours talking about how in our healthcare system, if you are generally well and you've got all these symptoms that they can't really describe because it's a sick care system, really, you kind of get pushed to the side. And I think a lot of people have nervous system dysregulation and it causes these physical things. And they're just kind of pushed to the side and never get the answers because that's not where modern medicine takes us. Modern medicine takes care of us when we're sick. They don't take care of us when we're like generally well and just need a few tune-ups. And so that was something that he brought to the table for me that I was just like, this is incredible. I can't believe there was not more of this. And when I was in school, like, why didn't they tell us this? And so he started having me practice breath work. We talked about making sure that I'm making myself and my exercise routine a priority, and all of that told, he really broke it down for me how your body will physically have symptoms and issues just from your nervous system being dysregulated. So
yeah, and we can't discount that at all. I mean, that is such an important point I love that you talking about the healthcare system is for when you're sick. I mean, it's where you go when you break your arm, which is great. Really good at setting your arm, doing surgery if needed, being able to get you all technology around, being able to perform a surgery on an arm, right? From the antibiotics to the anesthesia, all these and the pain medication. But that's not all of who we are. We aren't just the bag, the anatomy of ourselves. We are this emotional piece of ourselves as well. And that's really the part that makes the fullness of our life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about, then you also, grief has played into your work and your understanding of mindfulness in your life. So tell us about how that has influenced you.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. You might not think this about me. So in the ICU, let me back up. In the ICU, I had the absolute honor of taking care of people as they were passing or transitioning to, the afterlife from this one. And I still remember the faces, the family members, the things we talked about. It's a very, very vulnerable place for everybody involved. And it was something that I did not ever take lightly. It was very, very heavy on my heart. I wish I could have taken every single person home and helped them after and helped them through the grieving process. I still keep in touch with some of them. And I really thought I had a very good handle on grief and what that meant because I was seeing it in real time. And I did, but it's certainly different when you are the person in it. So this was just before Christmas in 2024, my mom passed away. She was suddenly ill and she was actually in an ICU. And I had to fly to be with her. And just going back into that ICU, I was like, wow, this is a little bit traumatic for me. And I was not the person taking care of all the medications. And I was the person on the other side of the bed without any control. And that wrecked me. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with. And I knew everything that was going on. I had access to her labs, her imaging, anything that was happening, I could see. But I had to kind of not always wear the nurse hat for my family members and kind of bridge the gap there, explain what was going on and try to remain hopeful, even though I knew that the chances were just incredibly not good. So my mom passed away 2 days before Christmas in 2024. I flew home alone, and the next day was preparing to get Christmas ready for my kids. And it was just such an awful time. And so, you might not think that somebody who has been in that position so many times would have such a hard time with it, but I did. And I went from being this person who was driven and constantly go, 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 go. I can handle anything. Oops, spinning plates all over the place. I've got 2 kids and I manage all the things in the house, to being somebody who could barely get out of bed. I did not want to do anything. And I always want to work out. I always want to get up and move my body and do these things. And I didn't. And the one thing that helped was my son, my sweet, sweet son, was playing these videos on his iPad. And I don't know if you've heard of Danny Go, but he's a children's song, YouTube star.
Okay.
and they have a lot of dances. Like, so their music is based on kids doing the movements with them, right? Get your kids moving. And he would play the same song over and over again. And he would grab my hand and make me stand up on the bed. And we all had to dance on the bed. And that was like the one thing that actually got me up and out of bed again. I would be like, I'm just so not good. And then here he comes. Okay, I've got to dance. So that was where I was like, okay, I think I need to get myself moving again and just start from scratch there. So that was the experience, I guess, in a nutshell.
Yeah. Kids are certainly amazing. We touched on COVID. I was so grateful that COVID came in the late winter because, you live in a place that the foliage probably doesn't change that much, but where I'm at, the foliage changes. The buds were coming out. You could, even though we were all sequestered, but you could walk outside, right, and see, oh, the plants are growing. Life is continuing, whether or not I'm fully participating in it. And children are an amazing healer, aren't they? Because they're going to continue to live. They can't help themselves in that way. So that's great that you had little ones around you that really push that issue. So your little one got you up and moving and was able to start to have your physical and emotional movement happen.
Yeah, I started getting up again. And then it was like, okay, well, if you can get up and get out of bed and face your day, you can go outside and you can take a walk. And it was like, okay, I'll do that. Put the kids in the wagon and off we go. I think I walked like 3 miles and just talked to my mom the entire time. And I came back and I was like, I feel so much better. Okay, I feel I can do this, and it calmed me down when my nerves were fried. They were just fried. I remember one of the kids in the neighborhood came and knocked on our door one night when we were eating dinner, and it scared me as if somebody had like shot through our front door. And I was like, okay, that's just your nervous system. It's fried. It's okay. But like, you can rationalize that and try to think your way through that all you want. But really, it's just, you've got to let that out of your body and let your body kind of help you get through the storm in your mind, I guess I could say.
Got it. Your primary way of helping your nervous system sounds like really pairing up the energy in terms of, you've mentioned going into the break room and doing some body weight squats, that you were pairing probably frantic energy at work to a physical energy, but a controlled then physical energy to match that up, which was able to let the whole thing drop down. Or going out for a 3-mile walk when if a doorbell sets you up, that really does say too how buzzing your nervous system was and how far away it was from calm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. One of the ways that we talk about in what makes somebody safe in the water in terms of swimming is that they can return to calm when something unexpected happens. And that always predicates on the idea that you have to know that you have to start from calm to be able to return to it. But even before that, is to recognize that you're not calm, that it isn't a normal state.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. Is this something that you more regularly recognize than in your life? And we obviously don't want to have acute things like at the end of a job or a pandemic or losing your mother to be able to tune you into when your nervous system needs a little tune up. Do you have other ways to tap into that now?
Yeah, definitely. I think, everything that has happened in the last 6 years has taught me to, I guess, audit myself and recognize it before it gets to like a 5-alarm fire. And so as soon as I see things start to go off, I've got little ways that I can course correct. And so, you just kind of notice, okay, I'm kind of snippy with people. That's what's going on here. And why did that email coming in make me feel so, I'm getting a little short of breath, So it's like, okay, hold on. I probably need to pour into my cup a little bit. I probably need to slow down. And I think the person I was before, she was so go, 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 so driven that like there was no taking the foot off the gas. And now I'm just like, the foot doesn't, if it comes off the gas, it's fine. Like, still going to accomplish everything. Maybe not as fast. And maybe like some of the things on my to-do list, maybe they're not that big of an emergency. Just kind of in retreating and going within. I had a moment like that actually just about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks now. and our internet line got cut and I had no Wi-Fi. And I was just like, this is insane. I have so much stuff to do, and they weren't going to come out to fix it for like a week. And instead of allowing that to really freak me out and get me wound up and in a tizzy because there's so much that I needed to do, and I just went within and I was like, okay, this is your sign to live your life, be in real life, and really be present right now. And so I found other ways to keep me busy that are not scrolling my phone. And it was actually kind of a blessing. I'm not going to
lie. Nice.
Yeah.
This is exactly one of the reasons why we're doing this, because there is a cultural expectation that says, if you do this, then you will feel good, right? So you had your checklist of things. If I go to school, if I become a nurse, if I have a relationship, if I have the baby, right? You had your trajectory of all these different things that you were doing with your career, helping in different ways and learning different skill sets. But it sounds like it was an accumulation of more, but didn't necessarily feel good or land well in your body. And this piece now that you're doing of being able to get an email and just even recognize how it feels in your body, that is a huge mindfulness and motion step right there. Is to be able to allow yourself even just a meta second to see how that landed and then respond from there, versus it's still going to land in that. If it lands harshly, it still does. But if you just push right on through it, then you're reacting from that space versus being able to create some space to respond the way you might want to respond.
1,000%. And yes, that's something that I like to teach people about, because we don't even think about it. We are so in a hustle culture. It is, oh, I have to respond right away. And there's such urgency. And if I don't get all of this done, well, before you know it, you're spiraling really, really hard. And so just practicing the pause first, that if you can get good at it, I mean, it's amazing what it does for you. And it doesn't have to be a big thing, somebody responded to me, but I'm busy with my kids. I can, hold on. They can wait just 30 minutes and I can play with my kids a little longer and then respond to them, So it's trusting yourself and taking that pause and being able to do that. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
So, Cara, what is going to happen if we don't do all the things right now? How have you helped yourself? You just said, okay, I didn't have internet for a week. What is it that you had to do in your own mental space to be able to come back to, all right, the world's not actually on fire, even though your nervous system at first was telling you the world was on fire if you're going to be without internet for a week?
I think that grief gives us a unique lens. Sometimes we forget that time with our loved ones, this is literally the whole point. I had my niece and her friend come visit, and it was really the perfect timing again, because I was just able to put all of myself into their visit and really get quality time with them and my kids and everything. And, my husband, all of us together. And sometimes we forget that's literally the whole point. And it's a morbid thought, but all of us someday will be on our deathbed. And when you look back, you're not going to remember the stuff about your emails and all your to-do lists and things. And I really try and keep that perspective within me. My mom was really great at being present in the moment. And when she was with you, she was with you. And she noticed the little things, the way the sun came through the clouds, or, oh, look at that bird over there. And that's the fabric of life. That is something that is mindful. It's keeping you in the present moment. It's something that you can do every day. And it's not hard to do. It's free. It's just sometimes slowing down to realize that those are the important things. And I think too, evaluating and auditing where I was spending my time and what on my to-do list was actually important. And that was actually kind of a skill that I got from nursing. You have to delegate tasks if you can. You have to prioritize what has to happen first. You have to cluster your care. So if you're going to walk into a room and put it in an IV and draw blood cultures and then give some medications, you've got to have all of your stuff and bring it in there and do it all in one succinct order. So allowing yourself to slow down, look at what is right in front of you, and go, okay. And that was how I approached everything in my life. Okay, well, if I have this, this, and this to do, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to gather all my tools. I'm going to set aside the time to do it. And I'm going to do it in this order, and just slowing it down essentially allowed me to do that because the weight of my responsibilities did not change. But being able to really look at what's important, what's truly important, what can I say no to, that helped.
I love that you said slow down like 3 times because that is for sure it. I mean, even when we started this podcast, I had to get a drink and I ran out. And then I'm like, okay, I need to breathe. And we just chatted for a few minutes because I knew I needed to slow down before we actually started. Yeah, it's such a myth, this idea of that we have to do and be and get, right? All of the things, but slow, it's the new fast, right? Like the fastest way to get something done is to slow the flock down. When I'm teaching students to swim, they're really fast in the beginning, and our whole thing is slowing them down. And then one day I will say to them, okay, now we're going to have a race. And they're like, kind of nervous about it because they're new swimmers, right? They're all like, but I'm not very good still yet. And now we're going to have a race, but okay, we're finally going to have a race because she's been slowing us down the whole time. And I say, okay, I'm going to say, get ready, get set, go. And then the last person to get there is the winner. It's a race across the pool, but you got who can do it the slowest. Still have to make forward progress, but to get there the slowest. And it just like kind of blows people's mind and like, oh, right, total refocus. And then they're doing the things like you said, get connected to their bodies. They're connected to where they are right now and feeling the space that they are right now instead of looking at the wall and rushing to get to the wall and having no idea what they're doing in their bodies. No creativity. Is just throwing caution to the wind, which in the case of in the pool is how drowning happens.
Yeah.
Having that full presence. Let's see. And you said it before. You had a couple times where you were on your fingers here, where you had your 3 steps. And I wanted to make sure to highlight them. Let's see if we can go back to them. It was about feeling and going slow and being in the present. I think those were the 3 steps. Does that sound right?
Yeah. So that's the fabric of life. That is something that is mindful. It's keeping you in the present moment. It's something that you can do every day. And it's not hard to do. It's free. It's just sometimes slowing down to realize that like those are the important things. Yeah, that's really what's important in life. I mean, all we really have is the present moment. And that's so hard to like wrap my head around because I was always a daydreamer when I was a kid. And so I'd either be stuck in the past, rehashing conversations I had, or I'd be stuck in the future, dreaming about what's coming next. But none of that is actually like, it matters, but like not as much as we all give it weight, what really matters is right now. And that's a beautiful thing where you're being mindful in the present moment and you're also giving your nervous system like the permission to slow down and feel safe. And that's just all. It's easy when you start to practice it. And it's like the value in it.
Yeah. Being mindful in the present. We can go to the past and the future if it feels good and it isn't about taking us away from the present. And but learning how to be here and now and enjoying those people while you have them and experiences, feeling into the body. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Cara. This was really great to hear about your story and transforming lots of good things you did learn in the ICU and, being able to go back and give her a little bit of help. And maybe there's somebody here who is still working in the ICU who can be like, yes, now I can go and give myself a mini break and do those squats. And maybe even too, I would say these principles about how to organize things, really that piece about the slowing down in there of recognizing it can be slowing down when you're putting that tray together. And if it's a nursing tray or something else in your life, if you're in another arena, simply taking a breath when you're preparing to acknowledge, I am preparing, that giving yourself even just that little bit of mental space of saying, yeah, I can take one breath and slow down into this preparation is going to help that nervous system feel better to take it, into the emergency room, into that next thing, into seeing the patient where you are going to be really instinctual in those moments, but then come back again and find a meta second to take that breath and ground yourself again.
Yes, 100%.
Love it. Well, Cara, if people would like to get to know you more and follow you more and find out more about your work, where can they do that?
Yeah, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and it is Cara, Cara. And then it's a period_period Doering, Doering. It's my last name. And you can find me there. And if you'd like to, reach out to me, I love that. So
great. Why the periods and the underscore? You looked funny when you were saying that. Does it have a story why you decided why those are in your handles?
Because it's something that I was questioning the other day whether or not I should change it.
Got it.
Yeah. But there's another Cara Doering out there who has just at Cara Doering, which would be nice. And so I was kind of like, maybe I should make it at the Cara Doering. And I was like, I don't think I maybe tried hard enough to get something that was more succinct. So it's just, and I didn't think about how it would sound when I would be saying it to people. So
saying it out loud.
I just lost my.
But that's okay. It caught my attention, which that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which of course we'll have it in the show notes so people can not have to try and remember the periods and underscores.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Thank you so much for being here today. And remember, life is more than just ticking boxes. It's about finding joy and meaning and connection in every moment. And until next time, keep moving mindfully. This is Corey Micah, and I'm signing off for the Mindfulness in Motion podcast. Bye.
Thank you.